everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, and whoa, what an eventful show that was! Super ShowDown 2020. First of all, thank you to everybody who joined us on our live stream and donated, of course, to Amnesty International, where all the proceeds from that stream will be going. A great cause and a great effort by everybody, so thank you very much. Now, let's talk about the bloody wrestling. It was a very eventful show, wasn't it? Very eventful indeed. I don't know what to say. I guess we'll just get to it. Yep, right, okay. This is what happened at WWE Super ShowDown 2020. Now, first of all, let's just brush over what happened on the pre-show. There was one match, the Viking Raiders versus the OC. Remember, the OC are the best tag team in the world, as proven when they won that cup in Saudi Arabia. Now, this time, they won again. They beat the Viking Raiders, which I think is a curious booking decision. It seemed like the Raiders were having a little bit of a push, aligned with Kevin Owens against Rollins and his stable, but the OC won. Yeah, surprising start to the show. Not the most surprising thing that happened on this show by a long shot. We kicked things off with the Tuwaiq Trophy Gauntlet match. That lovely trophy was there at the bottom of the ramp, and one by one, a superstar would enter, have a little match, and then the winner would go. It's winner stays on. That's what a gauntlet is. It's bloody winner stays on, isn't it? Like you're playing FIFA with your mates. We start things off with R-Truth versus Big Bobby Lashley, and Lashley is pretty dominant for the most part, but then R-Truth fires back up with his John Cena 5 moves of doom. You can't bloody see him. Well, I should say the 4 moves of doom because the attitude adjustment does not work. He can't lift Bobby Lashley onto his back. Lashley regains control, goes for the spear. Truth moves. He spears the ring post and rolls back and trips over Truth, and then Truth kind of slowly covers him for the pinfall. It's almost like he forgot that it was meant to be a flash pinfall, I guess, but it still worked, and R-Truth got the big upset victory. And speaking of upset victories, Lashley is very upset about Truth getting this victory, battering him after the bell. Dirty Bobby Lashley. Next up, it's the US champion Andrade, and he is also pretty dominant, especially because now Truth is selling not only the previous little match he's had, but also the beating that Lashley gave him. Andrade goes for his spinning back elbow thing at one point. Truth's going for some sort of strike as well. They clonk heads and fall over, and Truth falls on top of Andrade and picks up the victory. Truth's gonna run the gauntlet, everybody. Next up, it's Eric Rowan with his mysterious whatever it is inside the cage, and he just batters R-Truth, who by this point is very tired and beaten up indeed. At one stage, he gets the cage and plonks it on the edge of the ring, like on the apron, and then Truth later on accidentally knocks it off, and Rowan is just livid. He gets the ring steps on the outside and rams them into R-Truth, and the ref calls for the bell. R-Truth has now ran through 3 superstars. He is dominant. John Cena is coursing through his veins. But next up, it's the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, who comes out and takes the mickey out of R-Truth, just dances for ages. It feels like absolutely ages that Styles dances for. He's doing the cabbage patch. I can't do that. I'm never going to attempt that dance move again in my life. Eventually, Styles gets bored of dancing and locks on the calf crusher, and Truth submits, and finally, after a brave effort, he is out of this match. And next up, it's Rey Mysterio. Or it should be Rey Mysterio, because his music plays twice and nobody comes out. And Styles is in the ring like, where is he? He's the only person left in this match. I guess I should probably win then. The Tron flickers to life, and we see backstage that Mysterio has been laid out by Gallows and Anderson. Styles is in the ring laughing, and it's then announced that if his opponent does not make it to the ring by the 10 count, then he will win by forfeit. And that's when we see on the Tron that Gallows and Anderson have been laid out, and who should walk into frame. But, well, we don't actually see who it is, but it's all black attire, it's a long coat, it can only be one man. The vigilante Sting. It's not Sting. Back to the arena, and the lights go out, and there's a gong, and everyone comes unglued, because of course, it's the bloody Undertaker, who takes ages walking down that massive long ramp to the ring. This entrance goes on for a long time. Of course, that's no surprise. Undertaker's entrances always go on for a long time. I'm just not used to it right now because we see him so infrequently. Finally, Taker makes it into the ring. Chokeslam, hands on the chest, 1, 2, 3. That's it. Taker beats AJ Styles with a single choke slam, which is very odd in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I think it made Styles look pretty weak. I mean, you could argue he's had that match with R-Truth, but it wasn't much of a match. He wasn't tired at all. He just hit the calf crusher and got the submission victory. And now Taker comes along, 1 choke slam. I am the winner. I am the dead man. Didn't even take off his hat or his coat. And then to kind of rub salt in the wound, Taker just walks back, stands on the ramp, looks at the Tuwaiq trophy, and then just turns his back on it and leaves it and walks to the back. I'm speechless. Now, this is weird. It's really weird, because I understand the argument on one hand that if they are building towards Undertaker versus Styles at WrestleMania, then they don't want to give away too much of the action in this match here, which makes a lot of sense, but I think this went too far the other way. One chokeslam and that was it. I think, and whisper it, but I think it made Styles look like a little bit of a punk bitch. Anyway, how do we follow that? We follow it with the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. The New Day, Kofi Kingston and Big E taking on The Miz and John Morrison. This is a pretty good match, back and forth, certainly better than the Gauntlet match was. Yeah, it's decent, it's pretty good stuff. Not a lot to report on really, nothing out of the ordinary happened until Kofi went for his big, like, spinning back first dive to the outside, and Miz just moved out of the way, and Kofi just crashed back first onto the floor on the outside. That looked nasty. This leads to Miz hitting the skull-crushing finale on Big E. 1, 2, new champions? No, Big E gets the shoulder up and kicks out of the Miz's finisher. Stronger than AJ Styles looked just before anyway, to be honest. Kofi becomes the legal man again, but on the outside, out of view of the referee, John Morrison has got himself a steel chair, jabs it into Kofi's ribs through the ropes, and Kofi turns and Miz rolls him up with a handful of tights, and now The Miz and John Morrison are the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Next up, two lads that I feel really sorry for, to be honest with you, because Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo went out and tried to have a really good match. And it was probably the best match on the show to this point, but the crowd just weren't invested at all, and I think that really did put a dampener on the whole occasion. This was really exemplified at one point when Garza put like a chin lock or something, some kind of rest hold on Carrillo in the middle of the ring, and then started shouting at the very silent crowd to shut up, trying to get them to make a bit more noise. I understand what he was going for here, but man, nobody was really up for this. Carrillo then takes control and hits some very impressive offense. He is incredibly agile. At one point he comes off the top rope with a crossbody attempt, but Garza's there to counter it with a lovely dropkick, really well timed, and he even earns the teeniest, tiniest "this is awesome" chant from like a tiny section of the crowd. The finish comes when Carrillo goes for a sunset flip and Garza just sits down and pins him and picks up another victory over his cousin. Poor Carrillo, when's he gonna catch a break? Next up, the Raw Tag Team Championship match with the champions Seth Rollins and Just Murphy, not Buddy, Just Murphy, taking on Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, the Street Profits. The challengers are out in green and white, really playing to the crowd, the hometown crowd. Big babyface support for the Street Profits, actually. It looked like they were really over here. There were multiple signs in the crowd, a giant plastic cup, that sort of thing. Yeah, fair play to them. They really had the crowd behind them. I think, on balance, this was probably my favourite match of the night. It had the right mixture of good in-ring action and an actually enthusiastic crowd as well. There was some nice false finishes too. At one point, Montez Ford hit his gorgeous, massive, high elevation frog splash on Seth Rollins. 1, 2, and on the outside, in the nick of time, perfectly timed, Murphy yanks Rollins out from underneath the pinfall attempt and saves the day. At one point, the heels go for stereo pedigrees. It's time to play the game, except it's not. It's not time to play the game at all because the challengers bravely reverse it into a double DDT. But unfortunately, the title change is not meant to be, as Murphy nails Dawkins with a knee strike. He falls over the bottom rope facing out of the ring, and with the referee's back turned, Rollins is there on the apron and hits the stomp. Dawkins falls back into the ring and Murphy covers him to retain the titles. Next up, it's everybody's favourite babyface whenever a Saudi Arabia show rolls around, Mansoor taking on Dolph Ziggler. Bobby Roode is out accompanying Dolph Ziggler and he goes for Mansoor before the bell. Mansoor evades his attack, nails a drop kick, and the referee thinks, actually, yeah, Bobby Roode's trying to attack Mansoor first. Get out of there right now. Roode is livid, by the way. He's like, I didn't even touch him, which technically is true, but he did start it. And then Ziggler, throughout the course of this match, once it actually got started, was really channeling Chris Jericho, which is strange, trying to be the top champion of a rival promotion, but he's asking the referee to ask him a lot, like loads, almost doing like a Jericho impression. It was really strange. The referee does ask Mansoor if he's going to give up, and Mansoor says no every time, and Ziggler just continues to tell him to ask him while he has the submission applied. I think at one stage he actually even busted out the cocky pin that Jericho does as well, or the cocky pinfall attempt. Yeah, it was really strange to see, but obviously Ziggler had to heal it up a lot because there's no way in hell he was winning this match. Mansoor kicks out of the zigzag, he avoids the super kick later on, hits that inverted sliced bread out of the corner and nails the moonsault for the victory. Well, the moonsault was a little bit off actually. It was all knees right into the gut of Dolph Ziggler, who I felt pretty bad for after that finish. Mansoor cuts his, by now, standard babyface promo after the victory, and everyone cheers for him. So well done, Mansoor, mate. You've got, I think, a 3-0 streak now at these Saudi Arabia shows. Next up, the WWE title match between Brock Lesnar and Ricochet. On our stream, we were taking little bets as to how long this match would last. I said about 7 minutes 30. Pacitti said about 2 minutes 30. Matthew said 3 minutes. And Puppet Jack said a minute. Puppet puppet Jack. And I actually thought I was going to be right. I thought that this match would be developed slightly. I thought they'd give Ricochet a bit of a chance to shine and show his resilience before inevitably losing, like they did with the likes of Balor and Bryan and so many smaller guys that Lesnar's had great matches with before. Instead, Ricochet charges Lesnar, he suplexes him a lot of times, hits the F5 and retains the title in about a minute 30. Poor Ricochet. I genuinely don't understand why you would do this. Why would you have Ricochet, who's been very promising on Raw and somebody that they clearly want to push in the future, why would they have him get absolutely squashed, decimated, destroyed by Brock Lesnar? I don't understand why. This was the perfect chance to make Ricochet look like a brave, if unsuccessful babyface trying to topple this monster heel champion, and they just went totally the other way with it. Next up, the feud that never sleeps, the feud that never dies. Roman Reigns, that was weird. Roman Reigns versus King Corbin inside of a steel cage. There's big entrances for this one with loads of pyro. In fact, to be honest, everybody got loads of pyro on this show. That's where the budget's gone. No fireworks for us though for the rest of the year. Anyway, maybe at Mania we'll see some fireworks. Yes, there were big entrances for this one. Corbin's out on his big platform with guys carrying it and on his throne and everything. Roman comes out and the pop is immense. He is so popular. It was quite a jaw-dropping pop, honestly. Roman enters with a chain and chains the cage door shut behind him so that Corbin cannot escape through the door. He has to go over the top or defeat Roman Reigns in man-to-man combat. It's mano a mano. And this is a bit of a house showy match, really. I guess these two have wrestled each other on the house show circuit for ages now. And not only that, they've wrestled each other on TV and pay-per-view for so long now as well, that they could probably do this match in their sleep if they really wanted to. At one stage, Corbin does actually manage to get the door open and almost escapes out of it, but Roman bashes the door shut into his head. Corbin then gets the chain, wraps it around his fist, goes for a Superman punch with the chain, but Roman counters with a Superman punch of his own. A little bit later on, Reigns has got the chain now, hits the chain-assisted Superman punch, and that's enough. Not even a spear, I don't think. That was enough to pick up the 3. Of course it was enough. He hit him in the face with a chain. What am I talking about? This was an okay match. As I say, it was a really house showy affair. And I think if this had been the first ever match between the two, we would have probably all quite enjoyed it, but we didn't, because this feud has just gone on way past its sell-by date. I mean, there were some dramatic moments. There was the part where they were both fighting atop the cage. Roman nearly fell out, but Corbin dragged him back in, like over the top of the cage. That was all good stuff, but it feels like we are retreading the same path over and over again with these two. Hopefully, this is finally the end of this feud. Next up, Bayley defending her SmackDown Women's Championship against the challenger, Naomi. And it was okay. You know, there's not too much to talk about in this match, similar to the SmackDown Tag Team title match, I think. It was a bit of a nondescript match. Nothing offensive, nothing particularly bad, nothing particularly good, but it had a very unique finish, one that may divide opinion. Towards the end, Bayley nailed the Bayley to belly. Naomi kicked out, and I was like, oh, they're going to do a title change here. Later on, Naomi goes for the split-legged moonsault, but Bayley rolls out of the way. So with the big moves all kind of exhausted, it's going to take something a bit different to finish this match, and that's exactly what we got with Bayley having Naomi on the canvas in a prone position face down. She picks up one of her legs and traps it like underneath the big t-shirts that the women have to wear at these Saudi Arabia shows. She kind of traps it in there, and then Naomi's like at her mercy. She picks her up, slams her face into the canvas, not sure what kind of move it was or whether it was just like a circumstantial move and we're never going to see it again, but that's enough for Bayley to pick up the victory. But yeah, it was a strange finish, one that I think achieves the goal of getting Bayley more over as a sneaky and opportunistic heel, but at the same time, it kind of makes it look like Naomi got screwed and maybe blew her shot. Maybe she'll get a rematch at some point. I don't quite know where they're going to go with this, but yeah, it was a weird one. And on many shows, this may have been the weirdest thing that happened. On this show, it's probably not even top 5. But finally, the match that I'm sure you all want me to talk about, and I honestly don't know what to say though, because it was so weird. I'm talking, of course, about the main event, the Universal Championship match between the Fiend, the indestructible Fiend, the man who nobody can put down for a 3 count, the man who does not feel pain, does not sell finishes, nothing. The man they've built up as a dominant, monstrous force in WWE for somebody, some brave hero to finally topple at WrestleMania. It's the Fiend taking on Goldberg. The match was a short one. I've written it out in its entirety in my notes here, and I will read them word for word. Spear, Fiend kicks out. Mandible claw, Goldberg powers out of that. Spear, 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 that's 4 now in total. Fiend kicks out, mandible claw applied to Goldberg. Goldberg powers out. Jackhammer, 1, 2, 3. Goldberg's the new Universal Champion. Yeah, Goldberg pinned him. He pinned the man who cannot be pinned in about 2 minutes after 4 spears and a jackhammer and fighting off the mandible claw a couple of times. And Goldberg's the new Universal Champion heading into WrestleMania, despite it clearly being built up to be the Fiend for so long and at the expense of so many other wrestlers. Goldberg's now the champion. It's a last minute switcheroo. I don't know what to do. Twitter is burning as we speak. I don't know what to say anymore. Help me. Goldberg has a lovely new belt. It's not, the custom Bray Wyatt one anymore, the Fiend one with the Fiend's face on it. It's a new one. It looks like the WWE Championship, except it's blue. Goldberg hoists it aloft. He is victorious. And yeah, the Fiend no-sells that last assault, stands up in the middle of the ring while Goldberg's on the turnbuckles and stares at him. And I'm like, oh, what's the Fiend going to do here? What's he going to do? The lights go down. The lights come back up. The Fiend is gone. Goldberg continues the celebrations. Fireworks go off. And that was the main event of the show. So yes, there we go, some seismic changes heading into WrestleMania. Of course, we have Elimination Chamber next weekend as well, but in terms of big events that happened on this show, Undertaker came along and maybe set up for a match with AJ Styles, but he's just totally squashed him, so I don't know if that's going to happen. And in the main event, Goldberg is now the Universal Champion, and yeah, see you later, Fiend. Cheers, mate. Don't know what's next for you. I'm really sorry. Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments section down below. You can follow Cultaholic on Twitter at Cultaholic and on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do, then please do check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic, where you can pledge. And don't forget, of course, most importantly of all, to hit subscribe and to join us.